What's up, E? Right there?
Peace, peace, Dewan. Thank you. I didn't know you had accepted the co-host yet. Um, I apologize to the audience because I know that elevator music that Elon has as royalty free. You can use this, and nobody's gonna sue you. Music. It sucks. So my bad, y'all. My bad, y'all. Um, I was sharing in the Jumbo Dewan your website and your YouTube because I don't know if you're normally a co host of mine or whatever, but I normally throw that stuff up because I'm a co host of yours. So maybe you don't know how to do that stuff. I don't know. So I was still doing it for you. Anyway,
Much appreciated. Yeah, I don't be knowing how to do half this shit on Twitter Space. Um, yeah, but like, yeah, I was gonna do a room, and I hit up Eve, and Eve's like, I already got a room, and it's kind of similar things we gonna talk about it, instant gratification, but from different angles. Because of course all things merge at the top when you're talking about it. She's gonna break it down from her point of view, and I'm talking about it musically, gratification musically, and yeah, we're gonna get into all this stuff. This is gonna be a fun space. So make sure y'all
yeah.
please share it.
Yeah,
Please.
share the space, tweet out the space. We would like to hear from y'all, at some point in the very near future. But yeah, sometimes, we start thinking about things and then like minded individuals start having similar thoughts. So I like when that happens, especially for these spaces because, they're interactive and I can glean off of you guys. I'm not the authority, I'm just Eve. So, I need, I need help sometimes. And this conversation, look, I was at the barber shop. That's so masculine. Okay, no, it's a barber. He cuts women's hair too sometimes. So, uh, yeah, I wanted to say that. Anyway, I was at the barber shop and we had this conversation about instant gratification and just how people want things now. And I was like, man, we need to talk about this on Spaces. So, this is where the conversation's coming from was this conversation I was having with this guy that was cutting my hair. And I think that we have conversations with people who make us look pretty or make us feel like who we are, when we're turning back into the person or turning into the person, whichever one, wherever you are on the scale of, getting your hair done or whatever. Because, I guess if you're going to someone to get your hair done, you might be needing some help to get your hair. I don't know, like you're going somewhere to do that. It's a service. So um, I think the stylist, I think they talk to us and, you really can get some good thoughts going when you're in this process of reviewing yourself. So I don't know if you agree with that or not, Dewan, but I find that
I
those
do.
conversations are pretty, pretty intense.
I do. Like I started cutting my own hair back in high school. So, but I would still go to the barber shop. Even now, I only stopped going because my homeboys whose barbershop I go to, that was his little hoe palace, and he had like 4 or 5 kids, and I love his wife and his family, and this cat's using his barbershop for all his side chicks, and I was like, that's the only reason why I stopped going. 'Cause I was like, man, I ain't trying to be here one day when this nigga when one of this nigga side babies come in on the same day as one of his real babies. Yeah, that's when I stopped. But yeah, because the barber for real, and I still refer people to the barbershop. You know what I mean? I'm still cool with that particular barber. But yeah, I contrary to a lot of women's popular opinions, dudes that are married that love our wife, man, we ain't trying to be in an environment with dudes that's going around doing all kind of silly shit. Because it puts us in a compromising position when your life is in order, you know. But it was like that when I would be at his barbershop, man. We used to just talk about just everything, and I think it's just the action of being mobile, like as a barber or as someone who does hair, when you're moving, thoughts kind of come to your mind, and when you're looking in the mirror, I think the whole action of just being in a space to where you're noticing your outside appearance it spurs other thought about other things, about other areas of your life. And I think that's just a great environment to exchange information in and to be around because especially you're around people who one, they're working, so you're not around a whole bunch of bums because everyone in that barbershop is literally on their job. Two, most people who have money to go to one are usually going one because they have an income or something, you know. And I'm not saying people who don't have a job or don't have things going on are bums. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is the majority of people in barbershop have some other things going on too. And just that stew, that mix of with the environment, it spurs thoughts and it gets you thinking about like instant gratification and things like that. It's funny because when you're thinking about it from that point of view, I was thinking about it from the point of view last week. I was in Palm Springs with my wife, and like we take these little 1 week, few day mini vacations all throughout the year, you know. And I'll just work remotely where I am, but where I was, I forgot like 'cause I'd be so goddamn busy, you know. The whole instant gratification of running out and getting things instantly versus, you know, whether we with food, taking time to cook it yourself, or the instant gratification of always having entertainment at your fingertips, you know, now with YouTube and things like that. And then having those times to where you break away from that, you know, where you break away from the phone. Like last week, I really planned on doing more YouTube shows and going live more, but being out in the desert in the middle of just nature, outside the city, it just takes you away from that, and it makes you really question, you know, what are you really getting from instant gratification, you know?
That's an excellent point. When you're in a desolate place, when you're in the middle of nowhere, the things that we take for granted s- turn into these big things. And then you start to feel some kind of way. Like, what type of person are you that you need these specific things? Like, do you need to be able to be reached at 24/7? Or can you turn the clock off? And if you can turn the clock off, then why aren't you doing it, in your regular life? Why are you saving it for, these specific times? Or um, I like the idea about the microwave because, like I was talking to you earlier, I was thinking more that I would try to come at this, from a chef's angle. How easy it is to pull up in somebody's drive-through and order something versus, making it at home, and then what type of instant gratification, like, okay, now you've eaten, but was it worth it, or was it as good as it could have been if you had just done X, Y, and Z? Do you know how to do X, Y, and Z? Sometimes you go to a place because they can do something you can't do, but are we really out here doing that, or are we just, kind of skating by because it can be done? So you just go to where it's done and then you pay the price, and then but then are you paying the price? Like, what is the cost, or what are you really paying when you're instantly gratifying yourselves all over the place? You know what I mean? So, um yeah, this I felt like this conversation is very timely because of what's going on. We want people to pay us intangibles. The Democrats want us to vote for things. They've never given us anything, and they routinely forget about us, but then they want something from us. So it's like, well, do we want an instant gratification, or are we going to put in the work to ensure that whatever it is that we get is lasting? I feel like it's all related, but
It
maybe it's
is
just me.
it is like going back to when I was in Palm Springs, like I be so damn busy. I just usually DoorDash food or and sometimes I'll do that 2 or 3 times a day, knowing go up better. You know, I shouldn't be doing nothing like that, like running out and picking up stuff. And then like last week I just decided to really just take time to start and just really cook all week. And I cooked up some fish, some salmon last week, and I was sitting back thinking like all my food be way better than anything that I order out. You know what I mean? Ordering out is fucking me up. It's getting me tired. It's taking my energy away, and it costs a lot of goddamn money. You know what I mean? Versus spending the time. Sometimes I'll be thinking like, man, I don't feel like cutting up all this stuff. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing that. That's gonna be a 2 or 3 hour long process when I could just call here, whoopty wham, boomty bam, get back to what I'm doing. But then you realize when you take the time to do it yourself, and you get past the instant gratification, going back to what you said about the barber shop, like when you're cooking, that process of cooking, just like cleaning too. Cooking and cleaning are two things that for me it inspires creativity and imagination, not only with with what's in front of me, but other things going on in my life. You know what I mean? Like I have certain things that certain magical ideas that have come to me, in the middle of cooking, in the middle of cleaning, that whole taking time out for yourself, taking care of yourself. On one, you are like quote unquote giving up more time and using more time, but on the other hand, you're holistically helping yourself with that time. So, question: are you really losing that time? And that's how I was going to relate it, musically. I'm not gonna get too deep into the music part of it now, but just kind of introduce where I'm gonna go with it when I do. Musically, when it comes to our music, instant gratification is one producer getting a little beatbox machine or a computer and program the drums, then they're gonna program the keyboard part, then they program this, and then you get a singer, and instead of taking the time and getting a singer that's taken the time and learned their vocal skills and expanded their range, you say, no, I'm going to get somebody, I'm going to auto tune it. And whatever, there used to be a time when you recorded music back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to where time was left. There was you had cushioned and built-in time in the studio, for missed notes and to get a note right. Sometimes I remember back in my days when I first started. I'm only 42. Keep talking about some back in my days. God damn! But music has changed so much in the last 10 years, especially how it's recorded. 10 to 15 years that I haven't been recording as much. But back in the early 2000s, you know, I remember when I be in the studio a lot. This one band I played with, we spent like maybe 3 days on the words "That's right" in the middle of a song. We got mostly all the song right, but the way the singer was singing "That's right," it's like we kept rephrasing it. It was something. There was a certain flatness in the middle of the note, and then it would be sharp. And I remember spending 3 days, about a good 16 hours of studio time just on the words "That's right" and getting it to blend with the background singing. And that's how it could be when music is done. Sometimes it can take forever, and then you sit it down and you come back. But when it's all put together, with the musicians, and when you actually have live human musicians and you spend time putting the music together, you get what we got from the 70s. Most of us weren't born. I was born in 1981. I don't know about y'all, but most of us was born after the 70s. And some of y'all born in the late 60s and 70s too. You were still really young. Feel like there's very few of us at the age that we could have actually been participating in the music of the mid 70s, but we still listen to it. And music of today still samples it because it shows a difference between, instant gratification, doing things instantly, and taking the time to get things right. When you take time to get things right, it can have a long lasting, everlasting impact that's far greater than the time it took to get it right.
Absolutely. With the music, I I have mixed feelings about art and instant gratification. As an artist, when I say as an artist, I have a degree in the arts. So I feel very comfortably being able to call myself an artist. Now, if you like my art or not, that's two different, that's two different things. But, I'm an artist and I make art. But there is a whole argument that if you haven't been taught in certain arenas, then you are not who you say you are. So now it's about talent and skill. And then, if you have it or if you don't, um, that can come with chefing as well. Maybe you've been able to put different foods together, but you don't know what it's called because you haven't been taught or brought up in, culinary school. So while you can throw down, you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know that what you've done has a name, or maybe you don't have access to that information yet, but you know that you can put flavors together and people like what you do. So does it mean that you're not a chef, or does it mean that you're just a chef that doesn't know what you're doing? Does it make you not an artist? Are you an artist? I think there's levels. So, and that goes into all the different arts, musically, visually, and I think politics is an art. So I think that there's that as well. Some people come from the mud, and those people, they're not going to be sold or bought with, like trinkets, things like Black Lives Mattering being painted on the ground, or getting Harriet Tubman on a dollar bill or something like that. Those are things that are offered to us, but not necessarily things that are going to change things. So, instant gratification. There are people out here who aren't going to take it, you know, the easy way. But sometimes, I mean, I get it, y'all. It's like the easy way might be the way all these other people are getting it real easy. Like, what do you have to do to not be from here? Like, to be a whole person who's breaking the law to be here, but you can get a job that's paying you $17,000 a month to clean up after people. I was listening to Philip Scott, and I can't remember which of his channels it was, but he was talking about like illegal housekeeping jobs, and they're getting paid like $17,000 a month to clean houses. And I'm like, 17 grand? Like, can I do that? No, I can't do it because I don't fit the criteria because I'm not illegal. It's That's kind of wild. So I'm floored that other people get to have it very easy. And then, when we want it easy, like, for example, reparations are owed, you could cut the check. That seems pretty easy. But no, you want to send our money other places, and you want to make programs so that people who are not even from here can live very comfortable lives.
Eve, you just made a quick right turn that I'm glad you made about as far as how that ties into instant gratification and like reparations. That we know what else goes into instant gratification. People like to how can I say this? Wait and allow others to give and wait for others to give a good speech, and that'll be their gratification for progress and movement. Like you always hear people saying, there are no more Malcolm X's and Martin Luther King's. Like, we need a leader. We need to get together. It's always these we ass niggas that don't want to do shit because the instant gratification is getting that speech that sounds good and then going back to twiddling their thumbs and playing tiddlywinks. That's the instant gratification of the movement of reparations. They want somebody to come out like a Malcolm X or a Martin Luther King and give a good reparation speech while not having to do nothing themselves. Get that instant gratification of a feel good speech and then go back to doing whatever, whatever, whatever. That's been a major problem when it comes to our political movements. And also, that's a major problem with our reparations movement, the instant gratification thing. People thinking that if the next election, it ain't worth it. No, and reparations is a lifelong, and it should be instilled in the mind of everyone's children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren that it's their lifelong fight too, because we've been getting shit stolen from us since the 1600s. You don't think we should be telling our 7 year olds only reason why you should be voting is for reparations? Because we get reparations at a one time thing. That's a multi generational thing. That's something that as time goes on, we include other things within our political agenda, but it's still going to be a primary agenda 60 years from now because they were stealing from us 60 years ago. So this isn't an instant gratification movement. It's a movement where everybody got to do their part, no matter how big or how small they perceive. And another thing that tripped me out about these niggas, they go around talking some, oh, we ain't got no leadership. We just had, man, we just shared most of our lives with Dick Gregory. The fuck these people talking about? I've always put Dick Gregory up there with Malcolm and Martin and Paul Robeson and those guys. We shared the planet with that man until what, 2018? And he was here with us. What the fuck else do we need, black people? What I mean? We're still sharing the planet with Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson and Neely Fuller are still here with us, breathing right now, alive. We still have leadership, but you know what? People like Neely Fuller say, put the code up on yourself to do. Dr. Claude Anderson said, we all got to participate and do it ourselves. This ain't going to be no thing that somebody else is going to do for us. And so since we don't get that instant gratification of a feel good speech that make us feel like that make us feel good for a couple hours, since we ain't got that going on right now, not we meaning us in this room, but overall as a collective, since that instant gratification marker isn't there, people have getting discouraged and infighting and saying my group is doing more than your group and this and that and all this discontent, all because those are all markers of needing instant gratification. Give me approval because I marched yesterday. Give me acknowledgement because of what I did in that Twitter space or that YouTube video 2 months ago. All that stuff, man, it gets in the way. And those are all things I think that we just have to talk about like this now to check, because oftentimes we think of instant gratification just as one thing. Now, this stuff happens on a lot of different layers. And I think I'm glad you did this Twitter space. See, this is a good time to really check ourselves. I ain't saying I'm perfect. I look for that instant gratification too in certain things. It's just all about having a conversation with ourselves and being like, you know what? Most of the things that we want out of life are going to take a little bit of time. So are we trading what we really want for instant gratification?
Thank you. Definitely. I sometimes these thoughts, I think that if we pause, like all of us, if we just pause sometimes with the thoughts that we're having, we'll ask the right questions. And I think back to a conversation that I had with Mr. Fuller, and he was talking about how the answer is very simple and we're out here trying to overcomplicate things. And I mean, that even seems simple, doesn't it? Like, it's such a cliche answer, but it is so real. Like, the simplest answer is the answer, and you don't really have to do much. And a lie is going to get all complicated and complex, and you're going to have to try to decipher and figure things out. But most things that we're dealing with, it is what it is. And then if you don't want it to be that, well, now you're out here nigga splaining or, trying to cut corners and cut edges and trying to figure out how you can make that fit inside of whatever it is that you want it to be. So you're not necessarily doing the work. Maybe you are on your weight loss journey and you have a certain aesthetic in mind. So you wear certain things to make you look like where you want to be, but you're not there yet. So should you do that, or should you not do that? And look, I really am not out here trying to tell y'all what to do per se. What I am saying is think about what it looks like and then who are you talking to? Me personally, I got a gang of kids that look at me as an example. And for what it's worth, how I move about is I try to be somebody that is real and honest about what's going on. And if you make a mistake or if you're not doing something the right way, then you have an opportunity to fix it. So do that if that's what you want to do. So maybe in the past, I did wear uh, form shaping types of clothing, but then it's like, well, if you do the work, then you don't have to wear that type of clothing. And then, you know, now you've got math that makes sense versus math where you've had to smudge a number and push something here and kind of give a little there. So, I mean, I guess I've seen it in different lights, but I think the best light is the one where you're doing the work and then you're getting the benefit from doing the work. And then they can look at you like, yo, you did the work. And like, oh, look at what you have. So that's just me though. Y'all do what you want to do, but we're having these conversations because maybe you need a different way to think about it, or maybe you have thought about it but you're just not ready to go, or you're not ready to move. And that's okay too, because some things are out here all instant gratification type because you might not be able to get it the way that needs, the way that other people can get it. And the only way that you can get it is if you go somewhere else and get it. So I guess I'm not saying that that's not a reality, but at what cost? So, think about all of the decisions that we're making, and then maybe we will be making the decisions that get us to where we need to be. Because, like you said with reparations, that's not an instant gratification fight. No, that is actually a lifelong fight because of how long they've been fucking with us. Like you said, since the 1600s, that's already 400 years. So if anybody thinks that one action is going to wipe away 400 years of inaction, trauma, and action, torture, and all of that stuff, y'all haven't been paying attention. But I'm glad that we're here to show you what we mean. I guess they could try to take us all out and then there won't be anybody here to tell us what you mean. But for now, there's people out here and this space is recorded. So I guess if you need a reminder of what people are talking about, you can hit the rewind, hit the playback on this space. We're talking about tangibles and it's not an overnight fix. No, no, but you can start the fix overnight. You see how that is? Like, let's get started. But anyway, to the room, if you want to come up and speak on the topic, you're more than welcome to request a mic. We'll let you come up. We're talking about instant gratification because we're a people who want things now. And really, that's not just Black people, but I'm Black people. So, I can talk for Black people. So, if you're not a Black people and you're in my space and you have a comment, I'm not a racist. I'm not you. But, sometimes your thoughts are not as important as somebody who does look like me's thoughts are important. So I just have to throw that out there. Sometimes I get people in these spaces that want to talk, and I'm like, all right. And then they do something stupid, and it's like, okay, well, that's why you shouldn't talk. But Devon, with music, people who here's something. The local rapper, like your city's local rapper who's making beats, who's made a couple songs, he's selling CDs. I don't know if people still do this, but like I would, see people selling CDs like in front of 7-Eleven, like out of their trunk. So, and it might be good and it might not be good, but this is that person. I'm talking about this person right here. How are they instant gratification if they're using a beat maker to make their beats, or are they a person who's not instant gratification because they're taking it the long way? They haven't sold out per se. They're doing it on their own, and they're getting it out the mud. Is it leveled?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture of both and. It's funny. I was at my parents' house yesterday, and I that's how I met Nipsey. I never kicked it with Nipsey. I didn't like that, but I would always see Nipsey. He would always be on the corner of Slauson and Overhill, or up on Stalker and La Brea. It's dope because Terrace Martin and Alex Izzy just dropped a new R&B album yesterday. Y'all should listen to it. It's fuck. Left my heart there. That's my home. But I would always see Nipsey out there, and Nipsey was always selling them CDs. And for him, it works two ways. It instantly puts money in your pocket, and on the other way, it makes it to where when you do come around the majors, you're signing at for you're signing because it's to your benefit. You're not signing out of hunger and desperation. So it's a way that on one level you do get paid instantly, but it really is the long route as far as getting yourself out there. If you're going to stay with the CD hustle, like the way he did for a long time, he took the long route to get to the top. That's why his last album was Victory Lap, because of the long route that he took. But on the other hand, when it comes to musically, here's what the beat making is. It's one, that's what the labels encourage when it comes to our music. So people are only going to do we're human beings. We do everything. All behavior is based off consequences and rewards. And so there's rewards in that style of beat making because that's what you hear. All you hear get played on the radio. You don't hear too many natural instruments. What it does is it makes it easier for less talented, less skilled people. You don't necessarily have to now learn an instrument. You don't have to learn the because on top of learning an instrument isn't just learning how to play an instrument. It's learning how to feel an instrument, how to breathe the instrument. When you're with an instrument, you have to that instrument has to become one with you. When you turn left, that instrument goes left. When you feel anxious, the sound is anxious. You have to be able to transmit to emote energy and emotions through your instrument, and that's collaborative effort of five, whether it be a 5-person band or 20-person band, of people emoting how they feel through the instrument. That's what creates that sound that makes us all feel the music. When you look at the roster that played on Michael Jackson's Off the Wall and Thriller albums, the musicianship from George Duke to Joe Sample to Wah Wah Watson, Tom Ford arranging the horns. He used to arrange horns for Earth and Fire. You got Greg Gaines, the most recorded musician of all time, on keyboard. You got Louis Thunder Thumb Johnson on bass. I mean, when you look at that stew of musicians, and you put all of that emotion in with Michael Jackson's emotion, and then the background singers. You had James Ingram singing background on a lot of that stuff. You had some of Patty Austin, some of the singers doing some of the background. Janet did some of the background. My aunt, Auntie M, she did some of the background on that. And you talking about emotion on top of emotion on top of emotion. That's what creates it. But that requires a certain level of skill, time, and dedication that your so-called that people who are doing beats, and I'm not saying all beat makers, because there's some people who actually do know an instrument and they're great at the instrument, but they program beats because that's just where the sound is. So I'm not talking about that particular style beat maker. I'm talking about a lot of these cats that I see around here around town in LA, or they be emailing me about listening to my music. I get a lot of you niggas that want to let me listen to your music. And let me say it, I say this respectfully. I don't mean this in any disrespectful kind of way for the next person that wants me to listen to their music. If you don't have a live band, I don't want to hear it. I, Everybody programs a beat now. I'm kind of done with that. So no disrespect. If that's your sound, cool. Just don't send it to me. Send it to somebody else. I'm lending my ear, my time to people who are dedicated and taking the time to put together a band and do music the way it's intended to be done, not this instant gratification. Because when it comes to programming a beat, when the '80s came and all, see, back in the '80s, you had a lot of your producers and musicians, those programmers from the '80s and the '90s, they come out of a most of them all new instruments. They came out of instruments, but a lot of that stuff in the late '80s was ego on the part of the producer. It's like, one, the industry's allowing them to do this. Now they're like, okay, I don't have to deal with a bass player. I ain't got to deal with this. I can do it all myself. So a lot of them did it out of one necessity, two ego. It made it, even though it was necessary, it wasn't a hard transition because the ego made it to where, shit, I can do everything myself. But trans what that transferred into is now 2 generations later of now going to your third generation of producers since the '80s. You're now getting people who flat out just don't have to learn music. They get to just put it in there, and that's what we're getting as a result when it comes to our music. If you look over the last 20 years, outside of the song, of course we got our songs that we all love and like and we really care about. But most of the music that we've listened to since the '90s is time stamped. It's dated. You can tell. You can listen to it now and be like, oh yeah, that sounds like 1987. Oh, that sounds like 1997. You may jam to it, but there was so many albums and that came out back then where it was one or two hot songs, and the rest of the album sucked. Let's just tell the truth. You know what I mean? That was a major issue of the '90s. The top 10 hit, the dance remix, and then 12 filler songs. That instant gratification. Let's just make some money real quick off of a song. 2000s, and then so it gets to where it is now, to where you don't have much substance in radio play music, and we're getting what we're getting. People, and I'm gonna shut up in just 1 second, Eve. People talk about like the hip hop and how the gangster rap and how it's bad for the community. Well, let me tell you how real quick how this instant gratification music producing is bad for the community. When you have these programmed beats, 4/4 time, monotonous, they're time synced, they're quantized, so there's no variation in time, there's no dynamics. Every instrument is getting played at the same level. What it does is it boxes in the mindset of the listener. because music is either going to expand your mind or it's going to close your mind. So when you have this boxed in 4/4 time radio play music, everything is dun 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 dun. Kate, Kids Bop, for instance, that old Kids Bop thing, that was meant to program you to box in your little children's mind. That Kids Bop shit is fucking dangerous to the brain of a child. Probably more dangerous than gangster rap because it's this monotonous thing that just gets their minds into these circular ways of thinking. Look how that translates. You can't have a decent conversation with people these days without somebody saying you're a hater if you don't agree. Oh man, they just hate because they don't agree. Well, it's my theory and my assumption, just based off how I observe things. A major reason why people don't have decent conversations, the major reason why people call other people hater when they don't agree, is because a lot of the music that people are consuming, the programming of the music, the instant gratification style programming, where somebody could pump out 6 beats in a day, it boxes in the mind. It boxes in how we see life. It boxes in how we view lives and how we view ourselves and how we view others. So it has reverberating effects on your approach to things. When you do things like that are instantly done, especially musically, it reverberates to other parts of our lives, or other parts of how we get down. If that makes sense. And before I shut up, I want Ida to come up and speak because talking about instant gratification, I want to know how long it took her to goddamn learn how to scuba dive. I want to learn, but shit, I ain't trying to, go down to the bottom of the ocean on my first time. But I'm going to have to learn how to scuba dive. I'm going to want you to come up and speak and tell us how long that shit took. Because that's some dope shit to me. But go ahead, Eve.
Heck yeah. Definitely Isla should come up and speak to that. And that is a skill that you're not going to want to go out there and half ass because you will kill yourself. So, you can't just be out here acting like you can do certain things and you don't have it. You don't have the qualifications. Like you might, in your deepest of hearts, in your heartiest of hearts, know you really want to do this. But if you don't know how to do it and then you go out here faking flossing for the gram or whatever, now you dead. And, I guess you did it for the gram. Like, I mean, like you gonna get some likes and hearts now. But I don't know if you meant to pay it at that cost. We talked about that, or at least I've been talking about at what cost. Sometimes, I mean, I get it. You want something now. So if you can pay for it, then why shouldn't you be able to have it now? But sometimes it's better to do the work that doesn't mean that you get it right now, or it might just take longer for you to get it. Doesn't mean you can't have it, but it does mean that there are more steps involved versus just saying, this is something I want, and then boom, now I have it. I think that first world problems, right? In other places, they don't have Uber Eats. You cannot Grubhub anything because the resources aren't there. And then if they are there, then I don't know if this is really food that you want to be transported from A to B like that because of the environment that you're in. Maybe it's not as clean as you want it to be, or something else. Maybe they don't have the options that we have over here. Actually, I know certain places don't have the options that we have over here. While there is a McDonald's in pretty much everywhere, it's not everywhere. So, there's that. I think that with music, Isla, what you doing? Accept the mic. Come talk to us about scuba diving while she's thinking about it. With music, the beat makers versus the instrumentalists. I'm glad you said that. And, no offense to anybody who uses a beat maker, but as a person who plays instruments, like, that's a whole skill. Let me give you some game, fellas. You want to do something interesting, learn an instrument because being able to make it make sounds that are pleasing, that's nice. And if your voice is pleasing, that's an instrument too. So, you could do it that way. Dewan uses his voice. He is a funny motherfucker. So, he can make bitches laugh. And, shout out to his wife because she landed somebody who, can use the audio and make things work. I think that's really cool. We have to use what we have, and sometimes it takes work. I don't know if the one's always been funny or if it's just something that you've been working at for a long time or a little bit of both. But I see people in the audience who have different skills, and I know that it's a product of the work that they've done, in addition to just talent that they have. And shout out to y'all because I don't see any people who aren't from here that I'm talking about. So, foundational Black Americans have something, y'all. We have something that other people have.
We all do, and like for me, this was long before I learned how to read cards. I just realized that like from day one in middle and preschool, I was just easy to make people talk and I made people laugh. And that was my thing when I was a kid, I used to get talked about for being a fat kid. So I had to defend myself. So whatever I didn't learn, I had to learn that shit real fast. And so that we all grow up as black kids. Everybody got whatever that thing we got, whether it be we fat, we tall, we buck tooth, whatever. We gonna figure that shit out real fast. And then I was like down and out working. Like my mortgage career wasn't going the way I wanted it to. So I was like, you know what, let me fall back on what's easy for me and natural for me. And I was like, being funny is natural. So I tried stand-up comedy, and I tried it. And yeah, just from there it took off. But everybody got a skill set. Like everybody got that thing that they can rely on that's going to make them attractive to other people, and that's going to make them attractive to both monetarily, interpersonally, whatever. Some people, it may not be their voice. Some people be a particular skill set they have with their hands, or it may be some people don't. It may be their perspective on things. We all got it. It's all in all of our cards, and that's one thing I specialize in when I do my card readings is helping people figure out what the thing is. But that's also even before my card readings. I have a book that I wrote that I never fucking advertised. I'll never be thinking about it. But I got a book that I wrote 3 years ago on finding your skills within. And I did whole trainings and seminars in the corporate world 10 years ago and help everybody got this shit. And there's multiple ways to find it. You can find it the natural, the book reading way for people who are scared of the spiritual world. I can help you find that way. Or those of you who don't mind me putting out a deck of playing cards, I'll find that shit for you in about 10 seconds. And but because we all have it, and just most people, the issue is going back to instant gratification, and I see Ida's up here now. Going back to instant gratification, people look at other people's skill set and want to do that because it's easier to look at what the next person does and try to copy what they do than find out what the greatness that's within you. You know what I mean? Go back to a lot of these music makers and shit. They'd rather go ahead and sample and take from there. Oh, he's Jay-Z style rapper. Let Jay-Z be like, let me go ahead and say 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Instead of coming up with my own goddamn line, I'm gonna take Ice-T's line. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one and rap around it. Jay-Z part in all of that instant gratification shit. I'm gonna take these already established lines. I say a motherfucker so you ignorant niggas can hear me. Lauryn Hill said it first, but Jay-Z be like, let me go ahead and take that, then rap around it. You know what I mean? And a lot of that stuff got normalized when he came in, and also with the that along with the music sampling that came before Jay Z. You know what I mean? People got very content with taking something else that worked and trying to wrap around that instead of figuring out a way to create your own thing. And the substance, the everlasting thing is in creating your own thing. But that takes time because once you find out what that thing is, you got to cultivate it. See, like for me, I got a degree, like going back to degrees, I have a degree in communication studies. Like I have a bachelor's from Cal State Northridge and basically how to talk to motherfuckers and break them down. You dig? And my minor's in cultural anthropology, a way to study and analyze behavior and trace culture. So I have a formal degree in this on top of years of just being naturally good at it. I'm born on a Wednesday, Mercury ruled, so that means communication is one of my natural skills. The day you're born it says a lot about what your natural inclination is. Your natural skill. You're born on a Tuesday, that's a Mars day. That means you're very confrontational, and you can solve things through confrontation ways. Just by you know, you're born on a Wednesday, you're born to talk in some kind of way, shape, or form. And so these are all things that we all have, and we got to take time to find out what they are. One, and once we find out what it is, you got to be willing to take years to develop it. When I started comedy, they told me 2 years into comedy, Dewan, stop being political. And this is back when I was at the Laugh Factory, the comedy store, all these, everybody y'all see, y'all don't see me up in these circles on the internet, but everybody you see famous on the internet, not everybody, but most of them, we're all in the same class. Daphne Springs, Big Jai, the whole All Deaf crew. We all started within the same year or two, comedy union here in LA. Tony Baker. We all on the Spectrum commercials that's going worldwide now and Spectrum cable commercials. We all started between 2008, 2007, 2010 at the Comedy Union. I started 2010. We're all the same Teddy. Um, and I'm not taking nothing from this. Those have always been more commercial. It was always a controversial one. Everyone else would go up there, tell jokes, yada, yada, yada. Everybody laugh, go home. I'll be the one going up on stage talking about, man, fuck President Obama. And I was saying them jokes in 2011, when it was unpopular. So I was the one that was approached and told, hey, if you want to keep going down this road, you got to let that shit go. I said, fuck y'all. And I said, I'm going to take right there. If it's going to take me 10 years or whatever, that's what it is. I didn't give a fuck about instant gratification when it came to my art because my art is from my heart. And I ain't going to let no dickhead in a suit tell me what the fuck I can say. He can kiss my ass and so can his wife. You dig what I'm saying? So, but I also know other people who have voices who took the instant gratification route. They got TV shows on Comedy Central. They got writing gigs on HBO. Now that shit's getting real serious and we see what's going on around, they really want to say something, but they can't. So they got to inbox me. Man, Dewan, you was right, man. Yeah, nigga. But you wanted that instant route. You wanted to be with them motherfuckers. Now your voice is stifled. Bread and it's another cost to instant gratification. You end up getting everything you thought you wanted, but then the minute you get there, you can't do nothing with it because you are now somebody that you were never meant to be. So that's something that you also got to watch out for when it comes to that. Find out who the fuck you are, and spend the time to develop who you are spiritually and physically.
Definitely do that, because if you just know that you want to scuba dive, and then you tell yourself that you're going to be a scuba diver, and then now you're out here teaching people how to scuba dive, but that's not really what you wanted to do. I don't know. I know that we do that as a people. Sometimes we take on characteristics of something that we like and not something that is for us. Everything is not for everybody, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn how to do certain things. It just means to, you know
Most doctors and lawyers. Go talk to your average doctor or lawyer. They only became a doctor or a lawyer because everybody said that's a prestigious job to have.
Well, even inside of that, with the doctors, there's so many different specialties or directions that you can go. And a heart doctor and a foot doctor, that's not the same as a tooth doctor or the chiropractor. And the
You're
different
right.
doctors will tell you that being a chiropractor or a dentist is not really being a doctor. So it's like,
They be talking shit, don't they? Like
like it's like you got to pick a struggle, and all of it is struggle, because is that really what you're supposed to be doing, or did somebody just talk you into it? Because I mean, we need doctors, and heart doctors, that they make good money,
I
um
became a neurosurgeon because it sounded good and fucking hates it, and ended up like becoming a sports bar owner.
Yeah, see, that's a whole waste of somebody's time got wasted. The student, the doctor who was a brain doctor didn't want to be, and sometimes these programs are very limited with the amount of entries or the amount of people that they'll take inside of the program. So now you've taken up a whole spot for somebody who might have really wanted to be there. And then, damn, how many years did you not really want to be somebody's brain doctor that you was out here working on people's brains? Because did you give it your best? Like, was that A plus work? Or are you out here fucking people up because you don't really like your job, but you know how to do it? Like, it's levels to this. Do you know how many teachers I've come into contact with that are only teachers because you get summers off? Like, and then really, if you're good at what you do, you don't have summers off. There's no such time as summers off. There's no such time as off. You have to actually make it because, you're empathetic to the student's needs or to your population, to the congregation, or to the people that you have around you. And as an educator, you want to be able to give them what you didn't have or give them more than what they have so that they can learn whatever it is that you're teaching them. So you have to start putting things on pause. You have to do it. Nobody's going to do it for you. So instant gratification. Um, like when we're looking up for, I think people should think about what they want to say. Like if they were going to write a paper in high school, like think about high school and think about the qualifications of what you had to put into the research of whatever it was that you wanted to say when you was writing a paper in Mrs. Joanna's class or whatever. And then from there, maybe we'll have some more clear thoughts about what is being said on these internet streets. Because my goodness, Dewan, it's like people just don't know the difference between hard work and instant gratification. Somebody, like you were saying earlier, people might be looking for the next Malcolm Martin or whatever because they sound good. They're looking for that speaker that makes them feel good, and then they don't do anything because they got the feeling, they got to feel good, and then no work because I feel good now. So what do you need from me?
My father taught me that happened in the early '70s, and I'm going to have him speak on this in my documentary. He's told me this story since I was a child. He talked about the civil rights movement, like he grew up as a child, seeing Malcolm and Martin, and then seeing them murdered, then seeing the Black Panthers murdered over at UCLA, Bunchy Carter and all those, and the mental what it did to them. He said we were angry and we were ready to do something. He said, but then he said three movies came out: Shaft, The Mac, and Superfly. Those three movies in particular. But he said what happened was the reaction to the civil rights movement, and black folks for the most part went one of those three routes. The Shaft route was the people who ended up becoming either in law enforcement or the professional Negro that when it assimilated the system. Then you had the Superfly route that had the street hustlers. The Superfly and the Mac route were the street hustling routes. Some went to pimping, some went to playing, to selling. And those directions that folks went to the civil rights movement. He said whichever direction they went to, whether the Mac route or the Superfly route or the Shaft route, he said that music was good. We got to party, and he said we felt that, hey, we got our rights, we got some integration or whatever, whatever. And the line my father always says was, well, he got it from my Uncle Moon. Uncle Moon was like, while we was feeling fancy free and tickled, Nixon was tickling with our balls. That's what my uncle said, because it was all dancing and feeling good in the early '70s. And he said we basically spent the '70s partying. The early '70s. He said, and he told me I was having this conversation with him yesterday. It's like you really didn't start to feel it until about the mid '70s when you get into the Carter administration. You feel something has changed, but ain't nothing really changed yet. You know what I mean? You ain't really feeling the buzz that you felt in the late '60s, early '70s. And then when Reagan came, shit got their asses so goddamn hard and knocked their asses down so quick. They didn't really have time to recover because of the barrage that Reagan brought. But it all started in the early '70s. They was feeling fun. They felt like it was over. And the music, the movies, what those movies did was it gave them instant gratification. The music gave them instant gratification because you got the party, and on the movies, you got to kick the white man's ass through TV. So it goes, you didn't spend none of your life kicking a white man's ass to do nothing to the white man. You basically work and shut the fuck up. And then on Saturday evening, you went to the movie, then to a party. That's where you got to get your get back, and then you go to church on Sunday. You get forgiveness for whatever you. I just hit on a point. I'm getting too different. Eve is is fucking up your whole life, then going and asking for prayer. Is that-
Oh, definitely think that that is some sort of instant gratification. You are not like, well, here, while you can fuck up your life in an instant, right? That sucks. And it can definitely mess up years of hard work. That's why it's very important for us to consider at what cost. Like some of the things that we're doing, is it worth whatever it is that you're about to pay for it? Because I think that you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want to do. Just know that at what cost. So, if you think that you're going to go to church and pray it away, I mean, I guess that might make you feel good, but is it actually doing the work to make you a better person? This is why I don't fuck with church people or people like that in general, because nobody's really trying to do the work. And that's no shade to the people who are trying to do the work, because I know that y'all are out there too. But I think the majority of people give y'all a bad rap. Like, y'all are really not this cohesive group of this monolith of, people who want to be better. You just want to feel good. And I want to feel good too, but like at what cost? If I have to sit and listen to somebody drone on and on about what I'm supposed to be doing, and then they're not actually doing what they need to be doing, because we're all human, everybody's got something, so I know that you're not better than me per se. You've got something, and maybe you are better than me. Maybe you've got nothing. I guess that is a possibility too. But for the most part, the people who are telling people what to do are also doing some shit they probably shouldn't be doing. And I mean, again, they're outliers. I know there's people out here who are not that person. No shade to y'all. But the majority of the people, they're they giving everybody a bad rap. So I don't want to be that person telling someone what to do. But what I do, I mean, I'm not that person. I'm not about to sit in nobody's pew for no any many any any amount of hours listening to somebody tell me that I need to be doing more if that person's also not doing more. Now, I will listen to someone I feel like is doing the work, because, now it's kind of shared responsibility about the outcome and what things look like and how things are supposed to be. But a lot of times these people, these pastors, they got parking spots. Why does the pastor need a special parking spot, Dewan?
My bad. I thought I was talking. I was on mute. It was worse in my church. I bet it was worse in my church. Not only did the pastor have a parking spot, man, the fat ass usher did too. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the fat ass usher had a goddamn parking spot too. And then the brother that donated, um, the brother that donated uh, the most to the church, um, his ass had a parking spot too. And then all these the nigga that donated the most money, the fat ass usher, they all had parking spots. But my grandmama, who was goddamn 76 at the time, we didn't have a parking spot for her. And I remember thinking like, what the fuck? And that's that thing, Why is you got to get me started on a whole nother tangent talking about these church motherfuckers and the shit that they doing. When it comes to instant gratification, and when it comes to how they get down as far as the preferential treatment and priorities. I don't want to get too far. I don't want to go on a whole tangent, change the subject when it comes to that. If you don't mind, uh, let's go to different and then get back to it. That cool? Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Different. I know his hand is probably a little tired. It's been up for a little while. Piece different. The topic today, we're talking about instant gratification. Maybe you have a different insight, or maybe I'm asking for too much. I don't know. Are you a Wendy's faux for faux, or are you we got McDonald's at home? Where does different lie?
Like the only thing I was gonna say was off of like the main thing that you and the one was talking about. Y'all was talking about trying to find the thing you want to do. I'm kind of like in that situation myself. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to do. Like I'm going for school for something that I don't really want to do, but it's something I'm just doing to try to just, put some bread in my pocket. So I'm kind of in that predicament myself. I'm just trying to figure it out, and I don't really know what direction to go. Like I want to do the music stuff because me and want to talk about that sometimes, but it's not putting money in my pocket. I'm bringing bills in. I just know how to produce and make beats. But it's like times it's getting so much harder out here now, and it's harder to get jobs than it was, and things have gotten higher. That you feel like I'm kind of like you feel like I'm kind of like in a crossroads.
That's actually very interesting. I'm glad you brought it up and felt comfortable enough. I hope that we can maybe offer you some sort of solution. So let's talk about it. Do you
Yeah,
feel like if it's something that you want to do, you should put in the amount of work that you need to put in so that you can get the results that you're trying to get?
I'm trying. I've been buying my equipment bit by bit. I got the speakers. I got the laptop. I got my drum machine. I'm trying to save up for like a good mic. I just been working, but I stay on my own too. So it's like I'm trying to like pay my bills and do all that as well. So it's just been a real hassle.
Let me say something about music. Music, when it comes to art, you do it because you love it, and if and when it starts paying the bills, that's good. Most artists, the majority of artists, never reach a point to where it pays them bills. That's the majority. So
Yeah,
don't feel like And I'm gonna tell you, as an artist, I played the drums in church for 20 plus years. I spent my money on drums and I made off of and I
yeah,
made money off drums. But then I was just in the studio a couple years ago recording my sample packs. All that studio time, upgrading my drum set because I hadn't used it much over the last 10 years. All that shit costs. And what that costs, I ain't made that money back yet. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah,
and that's just comedy. I'm just now really getting to the point to where I'm getting out there in the last year or two, making some money out on the road and doing stuff. I spent 10 years. I still ain't broke even. I'm a long way away from breaking even when it comes to comedy. And when I started my comedy career, I was 29, 28. I had a I had a Audi A6. I had a coming off of working in mortgage. The mortgage market had just crashed in 2006. I wasn't making no money no more, but I still
yeah,
had bills like when I was making money. Nigga, I ended up, I had to work security at night. I was working in the daytime. I was working in the daytime, doing mortgage, not making no fucking money because I'm 100% commission. And then playing the drums for one of my bands, going to rehearsal. Then after that, I'm working nightclub security. And then just to pay the bills. And then when I got into comedy, I worked. When I tell you like it used to be me, Tony Baker, DC Urban, all these cats that you see on that are famous online now to here, we'd be
yeah,
doing we'd be doing 3 to 5 sets a night in LA. And LA is a vast city. The first set's gonna be in Long Beach. It might be we might have an 8 o'clock in Long Beach. And then from Long Beach, the next show might be in Hollywood. That's a 40-mile drive. And then Hollywood, you got a 9 o'clock set, a 10:30 set, and then your last set may be up in the valley, which is another 15 miles north of Hollywood. Another because you got to go around the mountain. You got like another 8 miles north of Hollywood, and then I got to drive 30 miles just to get back home. So that's the kind of dedication you need if you're going to be an artist. And matter of fact, half the mics we was on, we just paying for stage time. You got to pay $5 to get 5 minutes. Because anybody
Damn.
coming up to you, yeah, you know, I had to pay $5 to get 5 minutes of stage time,
Yeah.
and so you
That's
can't
the
think
whole
about no.
word. Different. That's for all art. If you're going into any type of art thinking that you're gonna make money, then you already are lost. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
artists should focus on their
Lost.
craft. Like if you like making sounds, then focus on that, and then
Yeah.
focus on presenting yourself as a person to be around, and then the right people will hear that sound. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, like not only that, I'm starting to lean more towards the electronic house music.
Don't get
Like I
into
love
that.
hip hop.
Don't. Like, it's not about don't major in the minors. When you just need to just follow you. It's like that's that part right there. You just keep that to yourself, and because it's all the same. So you just do what you do musically, and you expand musically, but you don't think about doing it for money. Just get good because anybody. Matter of fact, if you've been doing music for less than 10 years, less than 5 years, you're not good enough for you to pay for anyway. That's
I've
just
been doing
facts.
it longer than I've been
And
doing it since I've been in like on my freshman year of high school. I've been doing it for a while. I'm just now
I mean,
starting
I
to
mean, on a
find
producing
my
end,
own sound. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just now
See,
starting to find my own little
you good.
sound. So I'm just now starting to find my own little nick.
Uh-huh.
So I've been
So
doing it
that's
for a
it's
little
all good.
bit.
So that's gonna take a while. Like
Yeah.
you just not like that shit don't happen overnight.
Yeah,
Like
and
yeah,
plus like not
and
only
so
that, I'm in a
but I don't want to
location where
keep it too much on this because I want to expand the topic back to
cool.
what we are talking about.
Mhm.
But even location, we're on internet right now. It don't matter. We're on internet. All you gotta do is, I mean, here's my advice to you. My advice to you is what I was talking about with some other musicians recently. All right, man. My advice to you is to just keep putting out music and don't. You're not gonna get in today's atmosphere with little two pennies they pay y'all for 100,000 spins. You're not gonna make money off one song. You're gonna make your money off of a volume of music. So what you got to do you got to do two things. It's gonna help you out a long way when it comes to your music. You got to be willing to put out 6 projects, 7 projects a month. Just put it out. I don't care how bad it is. Keep putting it out. Keep putting it out, and then you'll look up in 10 years, in a few years, you done built a catalog. Not one song you did may have gone viral or gone great, but you put out so much music over the last 3 or 4 years. Everything is making a penny here and a penny there, and all them pennies are gonna add up to a cool little paycheck. And that's on one hand, that's gonna help you get paid. Two, it's gonna make you a better producer because the more music, the more projects you put out, you can't overthink it. If you feel like putting out an EDM product, put out EDM. If you put out funk, put out funk. If you feel like putting out country western, nigga. If you feel like doing outside of music, whatever the hell genre you feel like your spirit is telling you to produce that song and put it out there. You don't know where the people are gonna find you. Like Music Soul Child has two different audiences. He has the Music Soul Child audience, and he also has the Hustle. I can't stand his music under the Hustle, but I love Music Soul Child. But he got whole it's audiences that don't. They're not gonna sit back and listen to neo soul Music Soul Child, but they'll listen to the Hustle. So there is no rule for this. The main thing is keep putting out work. Just put it out, put it out, put it out, and keep putting it out. Don't talk about it. Put it out. And after about 5 years, you'll have so much shit out. Everything is gonna be making drops in the bucket. And we add all the buckets up together, it's gonna equal into a big old call for money, and it's gonna make you a much better music producer.
All right.
All right,
Yes, sir. Thanks
one
for it.
direction, straight
Appreciate
in
it.
one direction. That's the only way you can go. All
For
right, man. Have
sure.
a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.
Yeah.
definitely, definitely like when we have solutions to problems. I hate when people bitch about things. I mean, but look, here's the caveat. If you want to bitch about something, at least to me, you just need to tell me that in advance. Don't just start talking about a problem because I'm going to start trying to figure out how to solve the problem. And then if you're not ready for that, then now I've wasted my time thinking about a solution because you're not ready for that. That's so selfish of you. not to let me know that you just want to vent. So, or at least that's how I feel about things. Anyway, it's different. Well, actually, what's about to happen is different. I don't know if you remember him, Dwan. I think you met my honey at the expo. At least he was there, and you were
I
there.
remember him. Yeah, I remember
But
him.
he is on the stage. I didn't know that he was gonna be on Twitter, but I guess now that he's on Twitter, I guess he got something to say. Maybe all the way free. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, welcome to my thoughts. We're talking about instant gratification, and I guess now people can know that you were there and um, you got your own thoughts about things. So, shout out to you. Welcome to the stage.
Yeah, I just want to say hi and peace to the room. Salute to you, Dewan B. Very nice meeting you out there. And I want to say very special salute to you, Just Steve, my Just Steve. Thanks for having this space, and I just wanted to appreciate y'all for providing excellent information, and not just information for information's sake. It's information that we can use for our families and help us produce positive results. That's like in our life. And I know sometimes there's always exceptions to the rule, but the best ways of perfecting your craft, it takes time. FBA culture didn't just spring up out of nowhere. It was the familial experiences that took time, and that's how you get the best quality. Instant gratification and the wrong attention, it can be costly. And it's like my grandma used to make fried tomatoes on the stove, and you hungry, you ready to just start eating, but it took a little time for her to get it right. And then once you get it right, then you can eat, and you don't want to eat it too fast anyway, because you probably burn the back of your throat. But appreciate y'all. I'm gonna fall back and just enjoy the space, and thank y'all.
That's real talk. That best stuff takes a little bit of time to get ready, and you better not attack it. You goddamn right. You better take your time with it too. That's how it is. That's how it is with good music. Good music is something that you have to savor. You ever hear that song that just when you hear it, it hits your soul, and it may be a song that you've heard 1,000 times before, but today it's hitting a little bit different, and you got to play it 3 or 4 times in a row. That comes when you take time with things,
It
and
does. People hate when you do that too, when you have to hear a song over and over. But because it's so leveled, there's so much that you can miss because the artist took time into what did they want the sound to sound like. That matters. I mean, but it some for some people it doesn't matter because they just want to put something out because their name is strong enough or because the people want a certain thing and they just hope that it'll float. Sometimes it does. But at what cost? Do you want to be known as a person who just put out some shit and it went because of the time, or do you want to be known as a person who put out something and it went because the people were rocking with it? Like authenticity. But I guess you can be authentically microwavable. I guess that's real too.
like I was looking at Chris Brown. I get so tired of people comparing him to Michael Jackson. I'm not saying he's not a great dancer. I'm not saying he's not a great artist. He is. He's all that. But the last 10 years, every project he put out was an auto tune. I don't even know if that nigga can still sing or not. We wouldn't know because we ain't heard his voice since running. You know what I mean? And the fact that you feel that you can just put music out with auto tune and say, here, nigga, listen. No. When it comes to my music, I have standards. And you can't compare that standard. And it's cool if that's what you like. It's cool if you accept that. But you can't compare that standard to someone who said like a Michael Jackson when he did want to be starting something. His voice didn't have the range to sing that falsetto part. That That part, I said, "My baby to the doctor." Yep, that part. His voice couldn't do that when Quincy Jones handed him the music. He had to go and practice his scales for a couple weeks. And Quincy Jones gave him exercises to expand his range to hit that note. So 40 years after Wanna Be Starting Something came out, we hear it and we jam to it and we love it. But the story behind that song is someone who was already at the top of their game, somebody who was already great, somebody who we already loved, had to expand the skill even further to do that. And that even if we don't know that these kind of stories in our mind, we know them spiritually when we feel the music. We know them in our ears. We feel that story even though we don't know that story. And you as black folks, as people, when it comes to our legends and our people that have taken the time to do things and they took the long route to make sure it was done right before they presented that work to us, we have to hold those people in higher esteem than the ones who didn't necessarily do that. And then again, not judging the ones who didn't do that. It is what it is. But we're not going to put the two on the same playing field. They're playing two different games. When you're with someone who just says, "Okay, here's some music. Now let me dance." Comparing that to somebody who really had to expand their skills and go the long route, and on top of that, still put on a great performance aesthetically on top. We gotta show love and appreciation for the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was thinking about the talk
Evie,
box
there?
versus, oh, you can't hear me?
Right there, Eve?
Can you hear me now?
Uh, I can't hear you. I'm gonna drop out and come back in. I'm gonna drop out and come back in. If you can hear me.
To the room. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I see my little thing moving. So, can somebody give me a thumbs up or something to let me know that you can hear what's going on? Devon, you're back. Can you hear me
Yeah, I
now?
hear you now. I hear you now.
All right, cool. Twitter is not liking the space, but I guess it's because people are used to instant gratification. And when we start talking about things that take work, they don't want you to know what the work is. And if we're talking about what the work is, then if they interrupt the signal or the service or whatever, then we can get distracted. Um, I'm glad that you came back, and I'm glad that we're not distracted. Instant gratification with regards to music, auto tune. Isn't that because people couldn't get the sound? They couldn't hit the pitch, so they needed help.
It was created for share. You
So
know, yeah, it was great because
Dr.
she couldn't know.
Andy
Yeah,
Hildebrand made it for Cher, or in 1998, Cher is using autotune. And how unfortunate that people allowed cheating as a form of art. But I guess there's something to be said about that too. Like if you trace something, does it mean that you can't draw? Or does it mean that you took a shortcut? Some people can't trace things. So I know that you might be thinking, well, that's kind of simple, but think about it. If you can't sit there and draw a straight line or sit there to actually do it, then you can't do it. So even though it's right there and it's there for you to do it, you might not have it in you to sit there and trace whatever it is that the person is telling you to trace, no matter how easy it is. So yeah, I think there's levels to it, but
this how it usually happens. Eve. It's generational. Like auto-tune was never meant to be an instrument. Us black, our Black American greatness, we turned it into an instrument. You know, that's not what it was ever designed to do. We made it that. This is what happens. The first generation of new technology usually have an advanced level of music. And they'll take this new technology and start playing with it and then start making these derivative style sounds. What happens is that next generation that comes up, or not even generation, all the people, because usually it's only a handful of innovators. Everyone else is copying. What happens is the copycats come along who don't have that level of skill, who don't have that level of musicianship, and they take this derivative and start using that derivative as the basis for the music. That's when it starts to get called for somebody. Oh, I can't stand that nigga call me either. Fuck, nah, I'm not even gonna call that motherfucker. You already get a call from somebody when you see their name pop up, you cringe. I'm like, the fuck do this nigga want? We ain't got shit to talk about. Anyway, oh, lost my goddamn train of thought. Now I'm spooked. But now this nigga texting me. God damn. No, I'm not gonna respond until tomorrow. Anyway, so what happens is it's only always a handful of innovators. Everyone else is a copycat. The example, you saw Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They took that electronic sound. These are full-on real musicians. Used to actually play with Prince and being Morrissey at the time. When that electronic sound came, they took it and that high level of musicianship that they both had and owned, they flipped it into this electronic sound to where when you listen to Janet Jackson, even though it's false instruments, it's these programs, it's still extremely musical. Same thing with Teddy Riley. When Teddy Riley came in with New Jack Swing, it was these false instruments, but the false instruments were still musical and they played them musically. What happens? The copycat comes along. Here comes Diddy and his team of producers that he uses. These guys aren't necessarily being musical with it. They're taking this derivative sound that the musicians like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Teddy Riley took, and now they're using that as the basis for the music. So now you get the 2-bar loop to where you no longer have a bridge, you no longer have these chord progressions. Everything is just a sample or a loop or something. And then you get through the 90s and you get into the 2000s. Now everything's starting to get to it's starting to be a skeleton of a beat. Now you got songs like Laffy Taffy to where it's just ding, 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 ding. Sounds like a fucking video game. And if you think about it, Laffy Taffy was damn near 20 years ago. If you think about it, we getting old. It's 2000 what, 6? Laffy Taffy? That's 17 years ago when that shit dropped. And that skeleton of a song. So now you have people who grew up on that making derivatives of derivatives, samples of samples. And that's how it always happens. That's why it's so important that the solution, instead of fighting against everything, the solution is, okay, let's just go back to learning instruments. Because we're going to start to move forward again. Not as if we're not moving forward, because in non-mainstream music, we're dealing with groups like Butcher Brown, Anderson .Paak, Terrace Martin, and the project he dropped this past weekend, Left My Heart in Ladera. When you're dealing with Kamasi Washington on that saxophone, when you're dealing with the people who actually Thundercat, the ones who actually touch instruments, they're actually moving music forward. Thundercat is selling out stadiums nationwide off of his progressive fusion funk, jazz, hip hop style bass play. And so it's still moving forward in non-mainstream areas. But the only way we're going to get everyone on board and get the whole ship moving forward is when we start teaching our children the value of learning instruments. Even if they don't never become a full-time musician, because most never will. But learning an instrument at a young age, the trombone, the piano, the flute, or whatever, wherever you take that in your life, whatever you do with it, whether you become a teacher, a police officer, whatever, you now have these expanded conscious wavelengths going on in your brain. Your brain is now working on a more cosmic, consciously open and thirstful for information and innovative style way. Because once you learn music is always pushing the boundaries, bringing forth innovation. You carry that into other areas of your life. I know that as a drummer. I know when I taught myself how to play, how I treat everything like music. Everything's a learning process. Everything can be pushed forward. The boundaries can always be pushed. I learned that in music. Although there are rules, there are extreme rules, and there are no rules at the same time. That's the paradox that life is. But I learned that paradox through music, and so
Let's talk
when
about that though. The extreme rules and no rules. In cooking, that is something that you can put to the test because, well, you can do certain things with certain ingredients, you can't do it with others. And then the reaction between the two, you know, maybe sometimes you don't need something, but then you find that for other recipes, you do need it. I think that people don't take the time with their craft, Dwan, so they don't even know how to push the boundaries. And some of those sounds that you're talking about happen outside of the normal, what has already been accepted, because the artist heard something that other people didn't hear yet. Or would you say it's something else?
this is another both and but you have to you have to push those boundaries, and oftentimes when you push the boundaries, it's not widely accepted. But that goes back to instant gratification. You got to be someone that's willing to stand on your own 2 feet, and we all should be willing to not be accepted by other people. Look at the shit that people do accept. It's widely accepted to vote blue no matter who. We're the fucking weirdos. If you think about most of society, we're the outliers. We're the ones that are something's wrong with us because we won't vote for people that won't give us something. If you think about it, 85% of black people look at us like we're fucking crazy. You know, and that's just the truth. So, in order to really live in that pocket of being willing to push, you got to be willing to not be accepted. That's major. Like I look at now with my music talk. And also go to thewambi.com. Donate to my GoFundMe and my music documentary is dropping. And also, I'm doing a live stream pay-per-view 3 weeks from today at 1 p.m. Pacific time. I need everybody because that's a fundraiser. You're going to get the extended version of my documentary. It's bigger than hip hop, an extended version on top of the other one I'm going to release. And it's going to be a live stream. It's going to be a Q&A. I'm putting it out there. So with you guys attending the Q&A live stream, you help contribute to me to funding the series, and also you get to keep a copy an extended version that's not going to be available publicly. So I want to put that plug up in there for my documentary, but it's bigger than hip hop. But I'm saying that to say, um, all this talk that I'm talking about music, like I still be amazed, sometimes surprised that a lot of people don't know this stuff. But I had to remember I was always the outlier. I didn't fit in. Like I didn't like Death Row that much. I liked Death Row a little bit when it was out, but think about growing up in mid-90s LA, and I didn't really care for Tupac. I like Digital Underground Tupac better than I like Death Row Tupac because I saw what it was. I saw how these corny ass square ass niggas that had mommies and daddies all of a sudden wanted to be thugs. When I saw All Eyes on Me drop, I saw it change, and I saw niggas change right in front of me in the ninth grade. And I grew up in the middle of South Central LA, and I never played with that gang lifestyle. And so when Death Row was really making that thing popular in the mid-90s, I just didn't like it. I couldn't stand it. And so I knew more about Earth and Fire in '96 than I did what was going on at Death Row. I knew more about what happened at Motown and the Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye's drama between their drama with Berry Gordy. I knew more about what was going on with that than I knew about Dr. Dre leaving Death Row at the time. I mean, I had kind of I still had 2 feet in the. I'm in high school, so I'm still listening to my music of my day, so I have a foot in both doors. But in my Walkman, I used to niggas used to. I can't say they would tease me because anybody that tried to tease me knew that I was about to roast the fuck out of them. They didn't want these problems. But if I'd had these issues, if I couldn't give niggas problems with these jokes, niggas really did have jokes about me playing my Parliament Funkadelic CDs. I was walking through high school when Mace is the hottest thing on the radio. Everybody playing Money Ain't a Thing. I'm over here in my Walkman. I'm listening to Kinda Blue by Miles Davis. I'm listening to Confunction. I'm listening to Tower of Power, and I'm listening to that music. and I was different. I had to be willing to be out there and be different than everybody else around me. And not saying other people didn't listen to that, but I couldn't tell you what was going on with Cash Money Records in '98. I was too busy studying what was going on in the 1950s in the swing era between Count Basie and Duke Ellington. You know, so you got to be willing when it comes to the instant. A lot of people, when it comes to music, going into the topic instant gratification, Eve. When it comes to the music, most people are just going to listen to what's out there. They're not going to whatever's playing, whatever's popular. That's what they're going to follow because it's like I want to fit in, especially when you're in high school when you were younger. I just want to be a part of the conversation. I just want to be a part of the in crowd. So I'm gonna listen to the shit that I don't necessarily like, so I can have a cool water cooler conversation at work. And that's not where it's gonna be at. You know what I mean? That's not where you're gonna get the substance within the music. That's not where you're gonna get the substance and conversation on the surface level, instant gratification style topics. You got to take time to find out for yourself what you like, get in tune with that, and be a 100, even if the rest of the world looks at you like you crazy. Because at some point you'll find your tribe either way it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that if people really sat down and thought about it, the things that take a little bit of time are better than the things that you can just get right away. But I do understand wanting to get something right away because if you feel like you've worked hard enough or long enough, well, who's to tell you that it's not been the right amount of time, right? So maybe earlier Different was thinking that because he's already put so much work into being a producer that it should be here already, but that's not it either. You really have to hone your craft. If you're going to cook food for people, I mean, you have to hone that too. Sometimes just because you can do it doesn't mean that it's the best way to do it. Cooking rice or cooking noodles, you can cook them, but is it how people want to eat it? Like, are your noodles mushy? Is your rice crunchy? Are you having these thoughts before you even sit down to do any of this stuff? Or is it too hard and you'd rather just pay somebody to do it? Because you can do that too. Nobody's saying you can't. But don't you want the gratification of doing something and how it makes somebody feel, because you did it versus somewhere else? I don't know. I mean, I think that if we really sit down and think about it, we are a people that want to be appreciated for the work that we're doing. But if you're not doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, then maybe you're not getting the appreciation you want to get because it's not for you. You really should be doing something else. I, I don't know. Are we ready to have that conversation? At least that's where we started
Hey, yeah,
earlier.
hey, I'm sorry. I'm fumbling over this mute button. Sorry. Hell yeah, we need to have this conversation. Should you be doing something else? Part of the reason why I don't comedy no more is when I go to these, most comics fucking suck. Like y'all, they goddamn horrible, and they be up there wasting our goddamn time trying to be funny, trying to get approval, trying to get two chuckles so they can go home and feel good about themselves. 80% of the people who do stand-up comedy should not be doing this shit. And the same thing with music. A lot of you motherfuckers suck. I mean, let's just tell the truth. You're just redoing what you heard other people do. If that's all you're doing, just stop doing music right now because AI is gonna kick your ass. Everybody, if you do music and you just putting together a whole bunch of shit other people did before, AI is going to take you out. There's not going to be a place for you in music. You're better off learning how to program AI than programming music. You shouldn't be doing it. A lot of these motherfuckers, Eve, should not be doing it. It's like most of these motherfuckers speaking shouldn't be speaking on things. They should be out there doing the work. They guys want to run their goddamn mouth. You know what I mean? Most people who are doing what they're doing should not be doing it. And yes, we need to have that conversation because we be trying to be too goddamn polite. And if you over here and you call yourself a singer, and I like, yeah, Chris Brown could do it because he already on, but you ain't on. When you call yourself a singer, but every goddamn note is in auto tune. And no, Stop. Go until you go join the church and learn how to become first alto. And if you can't make first alto at your church, then fucking stop doing music. Like I'm tired of this shit. My bad, Eve. My bad.
No, that's real talk. And I would challenge someone to say that, I'm living in a glass house per se. I mean, maybe my thoughts aren't for you, but I definitely think that you should be having some of these thoughts. We might not come to the same conclusion about what needs to be done, but at least you were brave enough to have the thought. So shout out to you and anybody who, is participating in this conversation, whether actively or in the background, because, some of these thoughts, you marinate on them and then you're like, oh, snap, I've been looking at this the wrong way. I thought that I was going to be able to get this, but I haven't done that amount of work to get that. And maybe you've had that thought because you were chilling in the space today. So shout out to you. But I had this thought sitting in the barber chair, and I like that it wasn't like a big barber shop where, it was just this masculine place. It was just a place where I guess I'm self reflecting on my look. And when people think about what they look like and how they want to be seen, it's like, well, how much work did you do to be seen as who you want to be seen as? Instant gratification. Like you can you can do things that make it look like you've done a lot of work, but at what cost? So, enter celebrities. Celebrities can pay to have like a mommy makeover or whatever, or not even just celebrities, just people who want to pay for certain things. They can pay for certain things. And then you got people who are in the gym doing the work, takes a lot longer. And maybe you don't even know somebody who's been able to get it done because that's how much work it takes. You don't know a lot of people who've been able to conquer big little things. But I would say that there are people out there who are able to conquer these things. And because of it, it means that it's attainable if you do the work. But is that instant gratification? No, that's like hard work and dedication. That's not instant at all. But are you a person who's going to forego something that makes you feel good right now to get something that's going to make you feel good later? Because here's the other thing, Dwan. The world could end tomorrow. Like, and here we are making all these plans for a year from now and 5 years from now. And this shit could hit the fan. And it's like, well, damn, I was saving for a rainy day. And money doesn't even matter the same way that it used to matter because there is nothing left. These people really went nuclear on us. So, should you instant gratification? Like, should you be able to do that if you know that time is precious or relative to what we're going through? And then again, I'm not trying to be out here telling you what you need to do as much as here's a thought that I had, and maybe you had another thought. We can add these thoughts together and come to a solution. But if everything could end tomorrow, are we supposed to be making plans for later, or are we supposed to be able to feel good now?
I I think it's a combination of both because look, we ain't supposed to suffer. That's the slaves suffer. The the all greatness and all happy feelings and beautiful, that is all supposed to be in the now. We're supposed to feel great. We're supposed to be abundant and feel abundant. We're supposed to spend the money on the things that we love, that we love and enjoy. Um, but at the same time, you have to know how to delay certain gratifications for the bigger goal. Because at that point, you got to answer what do I really want? And if what you really want is that bigger goal and it's bigger than this particular means of immediate gratification, then yes, you definitely stick to the bigger goal. I look at me when I was in college. I did both. Shit, I knew I was getting my degree, but I partied like a motherfucker in college. I partied. I had a good time through college. I didn't graduate in 4 years. It took me 6.5 years to graduate, But shit, I had a good time, and I'm so glad I did. I worked 25 to 30 hours a week, and I was out every night till 2, 3 in the morning. 7 a.m. class, I didn't give a damn. I ain't coming home before 2 in the morning. And so I was able to do both. I was able to get my degree and have instant gratification. You know what I mean? But there were times where it's like, you know what, I can't go out now because I do got this class. You know what I mean? That in this class like is more important. So you gotta decide. It's a constant daily thing. But the biggest thing is understanding that this is how you don't get tripped up and you're true to what it is. One thing I didn't know in my 20s that I do understand now is all you think gratification, all that peace you're looking for, all that is within. There's no thing that can get you peace. There's no person that can bring you love. There's no party that can bring you joy. You have to have all of these components from within. You have to give yourself that. There's a song by Earth, Wind, and Fire called All About Love. That song I've been listening to for over 30 years, and I'm still listening to it probably weekly because it's always a constant reminder, it's a message. It's all talking about the balancing the outside with the inside and the outer self, your appearance, what's inside of you, what's inside of you, your spirit. But the song talks a lot of Bobby Hemmett style principles and Reverend Ike style principles, all about feeling what you want from within. You have to give yourself that. Nobody can, like, the best relationships, all my years doing relationship counseling, all my years married, the best, most constructive relationships are when you're dealing with two whole people or two people on the journey of individual holistic behavior, being holistic from within. Because you can only give what you have. You can only receive what you understand. If you don't understand love from within, nobody can give it to you. They give you all the love in the world. And that's how you see these relationships. You be like, dang, and he was treating her real good. And she just won't went boonty bapping. That's because she didn't know how to feel that love from within, or he didn't know how to feel that love from within. So when it came in the direction, they didn't know how to recognize it. The key to all that balancing instant gratification with long term is whatever that thing that 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 substance or that outside thing you think is going to give you. Understand first of all that thing can't give you a motherfucking thing. It can't give you anything. It's an experience, but depending on how sour or how great you feel from within, that experience is either going to be good or bad, positive or negative, depending. So it all starts from within. We all have to work on fulfilling ourselves and being whole within. You can't look a certain way. I know some people who I know who are the most depressed internally inside are the people with the best physical shape, the best outward appearance. Inside, a lot of these cats are miserable. Not all of them, but some of them. You would think, why are you miserable? You have every physical gift, and you work at your body, and you have all this. Why would you feel so? That's because they still have the perception of themselves that their mother gave them when they talk bad about them, or that kid at school that they believed, or that teacher, or that adult in their life, or somebody in their life that said something negative to them that they believed and grasped onto. What they did physically, no matter how many diets they went on, no matter how developed their six packs are, they still fucking hate their appearance. Same thing with people who have a lot of money. You got people who got money hand over fist, got all the money to buy everything they want, and they're fucking miserable because they still identified by that negative trait, that negative characteristic, that negative thing someone told them. So the key to all this shit is finding yourself from within, understanding who you are from within. That way, at this point, if I make a choice on whether to have instant gratification or long term, it's a choice that I'm making from a centered point of view. I may decide, you know what, overall, this is the goal I want, but for right now, I want this. And you're going to take it, and you're going to be good with it. And it's not going to become a drug or a parasitic because the next time you approach that decision, you're going to be able to make the decision you want for that time because whatever it is you're looking for, you've already given yourself that thing from within. Self approval is the only approval that exists. And when you approve of self, when you approve of what you're doing, now these decisions that we have to make between instant gratification and long term become less of a quagmire and more of just an option.
Absolutely. Um, that is a whole direction that I hadn't really expected us to go, but I should have expected it because it does all start with self. And as I was talking about earlier, I was only really having this thought because I was thinking about me. So, silly Eve. Okay, tricks are for kids. Anyway, cereal. That cereal's not good for you. If you're eating that, that's bad. Instant gratification in the morning. Maybe you should have some like oatmeal or something else that isn't colorful and sugary. Anyway, food. I like to talk about food because everybody likes to eat and everybody has to eat. But then what you do for what you're putting into your body, instant gratification or not. And I guess before we end the room, if you have any thoughts, you are more than welcome to come up and speak. But I've appreciated this conversation with you, Devon, because I think that you offer insight that I might have some thoughts about, but they weren't my first thought. And I think that helps us develop, you know, our thoughts and talking points because everybody doesn't need to speak. And if I become a person that's just to be talking, well, I'd be very offended and upset that y'all would just let me do that. That's that's not the move. Like everybody doesn't need the mic, and even if that's me, like I can take it and we can do better. We don't have to be the one, to just sit there and hog the mic. But as this is my space, and, I haven't heard anything like that just yet, instant gratification. I think that if you put in the work, you will get the results that you should get, but life's not fair, and white supremacy is very real. So you might actually work your ass off and not get what you're supposed to get. But it doesn't mean that you're not the shit. And if you don't have that inside of you, like what Devon was talking about earlier, then you're going to be working your ass off and not even getting the benefit of knowing that you got it and the people know that you got it. And it's just a matter of time before, the scales turn. If you throw a ball in the air, it's going to come down. It doesn't matter how strong you are or how far you threw the ball. It's going to come down. That is law. So
Question,
that's
Eve. I have
everything.
a question, Eve. I have a question. I
Go
say
ahead.
I do this on my YouTube show. I might do it on YouTube tomorrow. I've never done it on Twitter Spaces. I'm not gonna do it now, but I know we gotta close out pretty soon. What do you think about me hosting a room one day, just a quick reading room where people can come in? Would you co-host that with me, where people can just come in and give me their birthday real quick, and I can get them a quick
I would. I
direction?
was
You would host
wondering
that?
if you would do something like that. Yeah, I think
I would do an
that.
example now. I would do an example for somebody real quick, but like, yeah, I know you gotta go, but yeah.
No, I mean, I don't actually have to go right this second. If
Right.
somebody wants to take advantage of the opportunity, also, I did share in the jumbo, dwanb.com. He has stuff. He's got skills, nunchuck skills and aviator skills. And, he's a whole Napoleon out here. But anyway, if you want to take advantage of a card reading of sorts, just throw your hand up and we will go. Um, People have already heard you talk about me. Um,
Hey,
but
I don't even need your homework. This,
as a
yeah.
reminder, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just gonna say, as a reminder, if you don't mind, I guess you could start. You could start with me, May 14. Let's see what's going on.
You said your birthday's on May 14th. I was gonna be like a skill, one of your skills. Your May 14th. Okay, cool. So okay, yeah. Five of diamonds. That means notice. You got like a lot of skills. That's one of your biggest challenges has been trying to figure out which direction to point all your energy in. Because you have your Saturn is a two of clubs. So that means one of your biggest skills is speaking up for people. Yeah, like you're somebody that's probably really good at HR. You'd be good teaching also. You'd be good at any kind of thing that's giving directives. Um, you're the person that's a good messenger. You're probably better off. You're a good messenger for someone working with other people. You can help carry out other people's visions. Carrying out your own vision sometimes is a much more harder challenge because you got like five visions and you don't know which one to put. You put your energy behind one minute, then a different one the next minute, then a different one the next minute, and the biggest issue is spending the length of time that you need to spend and focus on one thing. But once you do that, that should be dope as fuck when you focus on one thing. And but at the same time, you're someone who's really good being attached to somebody else that has something that they have going on because you'll carry out somebody's mission probably better than they can.
Well, that is pretty cool to learn. And I think that if people are honest about who they are, and just listen to what's being presented, it's not so spooky. There's a science behind why we are who we are. And since Isla came back up, Isla, scuba diving, instant gratification. You can't just go out there and be like, I'm a scuba dive today because you
Mhm.
could die. Is that right? Or am I
No,
tripping?
yeah, absolutely. And it's been a long time since I've even done it. So I would have to be retrained because the equipment and the processes, they update these things or things change. Like they have rebreathers and all kinds of things that you would have to learn how to adjust to. Not that huge tank that my dad trained me on, but yeah, you definitely have to. And there's a lot of preparation. If you're doing like free diving or snorkeling, you have to train yourself physically to be able to hold your breath, for a certain amount of time.
So that's a skill that you can practice outside of the water, but probably for the stakes that are involved, like you would have to get in the water and then you have to know how to swim, right?
Right.
Or
Yes.
is that so?
Yeah, you have
I
to know
mean,
how to
people
swim.
can do it.
But then too, when you're in the ocean, it's different than being in the pool. You have to understand how currents work. We have a thing here in Florida with these rip tides. Well, they're everywhere, but they'll take you out from just standing on the shoreline in the water, just waiting in the water. So you have to know how to navigate the actual environment.
Question: when it comes to that scuba diving thing, like, how do you get do you your first? They give you like you say your first time scuba diving, you can only go like 90 feet down. It's like do you have like tiers as far as how down you can go depending how long you've been doing it?
Um, well, it depends on. I mean, it's really a no answer because you can, usually when you first starting out, you'll be with a trainer or somebody that does it with you. I mean, they have recommendations in terms of, how far down you go. I've never been that far. I've only been about 20 feet. And then the rest was trained in a pool, of course. But yeah, I mean, it just all depends on who you have with you, and you should never do it by yourself. Of course, you should always have somebody with you. Although my dad, sorry about the noise in the background. It's my grandbaby. My dad, he used to do a lot of dives by himself, um, and he never had somebody with him. But I wouldn't recommend it. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, he did. That shit's always fascinated me. Like I want to do it, but I'm scared. Yeah,
Well, you just like I said, you don't do it. You have to do what's comfortable for you. We used to go out off of the we used to rent the pontoon boats and we would go out and the water wasn't that deep.
got you. I don't know how I do know how we got on scuba diving. We asked, but I just saw you in the chat. Like, oh yeah, it's been on my mind. Like, I want to know. I'm gonna do it one of these days, probably if I can find a goddamn one of them tanks that fit. Um, I'm gonna do it.
Well, I mean, but you're in LA, so y'all close to the water. I'm sure there's plenty of schools around there that do training. We only have one in my area, but yeah, just go for it. And I don't think the tank size matters in terms of you. Well, I don't think you matter in terms of the tank size. Because, like I said, they have the rebreathers now where they're small, but recycle the air that you breathe, the
Like it's
oxygen.
back of an airplane. Okay, I got you.
Isla, what's your birthday?
328.
328. All right. We going all kind of places. 328.
Dwan, you
Okay.
already
All
did
right.
me, remember?
I did. I don't be remembering. Like I had somebody that gave me a testimonial yesterday that said that I told him he and his brother was gonna fall out. I don't remember that shit, but it happened, and then
You did me and Eve on the same day. Well, in the space, it was we were doing a space.
oh yeah. But each time it's a little different. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, you're eight of clubs, very very fixed. The world revolves around you.
No, it does
Oh
not.
yeah. Uh-huh. Hard worker, definitely value oriented person. Yeah, I remember. I remember a little bit now. I remember a little bit now. Um, but yeah, but we're going back to what we were talking about. We were talking about like instant gratification and things like that. Like even when it came to me as far as instant gratification in these card readings, I'm glad I learned it on the back end of what I do. I learned everything else first. I got the college degree first. I had 10 plus, I had 15 plus years working with kids first. I had 10 plus years working with families first. I wrote a book on finding your gifts first. I wrote a book on how to communicate with your family members in love first, all before I got into really the card thing. The card thing really confirmed everything that I was doing on a so-called quote unquote regular path, regular way. It just made it a lot goddamn faster. So I do get instant gratification with these cards because I'm telling you right now, when I used to do relationship counseling, I had these couples 6 months, 9 months, a year. I'm getting to the point I'm tired of hearing about these niggas' problems. You know what I mean? You give them stuff, and it's like, God damn, like the talk therapy. I was never a therapist, but I was counsel. I created my own program. But now with these cards, man, I get right to these niggas' problems in the first 2 sessions, and then I don't think I've had a client more than 5 sessions now. Then it's the longest I've had a client. Most clients I'm done with within 3 sessions, just through cards. So the cards give me instant gratification. I can do now in 3 or 4 month sessions, what used to take me 9 months or a year to do. So in that way, the instant gratification works better. It works in my favor.
That's actually real talk because you actually did a lot of work to be able to understand the craft. But you could just learn cards and go at it like that because it is a skill that gets you to the destination rather quickly if you can do it well. I got a DM May 19. What is that?
May 19th.
Mhm.
That's the King Club. That's Malcolm X birthday. That's their King Clubs like me. Um, May 19th King Clubs person. That's somebody that got very good speaker. Very. That's a leader right there. That's somebody that got a jack of diamonds and Mercury. That means as a teenager, they probably used to joke around and fuck around too much and kid around, and immaturity was the thing that got in their way when they were younger. Always class clown and fucking around. But then they got let me know how accurate I am when they inbox you again. Tell them to, let me know if I'm accurate or
Okay,
not.
Dwan,
But,
I need
huh?
one from you.
Okay.
219.
You're 6 of diamonds. I know. Let me finish this King of Clubs one, then I'm gonna get to you. That person with the King of Clubs, they got to know that they best that values. They got to say value centered. They got to say value centered because if they that 4 diamonds in Mars, if they do something outside of their own values, they gonna get fucked up and get fucked up in a big way. So they gotta say square with their values and whatever they do. But you say you what? What's your birthday?
No, I gave you mine. Mine is 328. I'm doing my daughter. She's sitting right next to me.
Oh,
219.
that's May
No,
19th
she's 219.
or
Yeah.
219. 219. Okay, that's the 6 of diamonds. That's someone again. That's the 6 of diamonds is all about balancing. That's somebody that their values their value centered. She's gonna be value centered. You got to make sure you install very very strong values in her because whatever her values are gonna be, is what she's gonna live
She's a,
out. Jada Pinkett.
she's an adult.
Oh, she's an adult. Okay, okay, okay. So, but I'm pretty sure then whatever she puts her, whatever she says it is, whatever she says, however she says stuff is gonna be, that's how it is. Like she doesn't compromise on what she feels is right. Um, she is also she got that ten of hearts and Venus, so that means she she could be expressive. She's somebody that knows how to channel her creativity, channel her emotion into something creative.
She
Look,
does.
Isla, this he's talking about your older daughter,
Yes, solid. Huh?
and you only have one of
No,
those.
I have two, well, I have one. Well, I have her, my oldest, and my youngest are girls. The rest are boys.
Look, when he was describing who it was, like I don't, the only one that I know is Samaya. So I know that he wasn't talking
Yeah,
about
no,
her.
she's eight.
So,
She's eight twenty
um,
nine.
but who he's talking about, I know that I don't know her, but I've seen her. Like he was describing her to a T. And y'all, that's a skill. I think that if you take the time to learn whatever it is that you're good at, then you can do something with that. And I guess Isla, you can tell him if he's right or wrong about what he
Yeah,
said,
no,
but I don't even know your daughter, but I know which one he was talking. Like
uh-huh.
I know which one he was talking about.
Yeah, she's sitting right here. No, he's correct. She is very expressive and definitely. And when I make up my mind on something, it's definitely what it is.
Uh-huh. You ain't gonna knock her off that.
Oh my
You
goodness.
better off.
I think
You better
that's
off.
been our head button since she got here.
Uh-huh. Yeah. She's gonna she's gonna defend her values at all costs, and it doesn't really matter. And the six of diamonds, they don't really give a fuck how you feel, about it. She does care. She's a very caring person. She does.
She's very caring, but yeah, you.
She's sensitive again, but she ain't. But if you try to infringe on her territory, all right, good luck.
Mm.
And the other one you said is August
Yes,
29th.
829.
Oh, she has Michael Jackson, brother. She's a ten of diamond, ten of hearts. So that means she's very sensitive, extremely sensitive. You got to watch um how you talk to her and how you interact with her. She's very sensitive, but she knows how to channel that sensitive. She's Mars. So okay. So I see. So y'all two get along. The two sisters get along, don't
Of
you?
course. Well, one is an adult and the other one's a 9 year old.
Well, also because he's ten of hearts. The one August 29th is ten of hearts to the one that's the other one, the older one. That's her Venus card. Venus tells me who you get along with, and so when you have matching Venus cards, that's someone who you're going to have a matching personality. When your Venus card matches somebody else's Sun card, you're going to have a good relationship with that person. Um, and this one here is this one's a business one right here. You gotta teach them to channel that emotion. She has to learn how to channel that emotion into money because she'll be great when she's passionate about something and she figures out how to monetize what she's passionate about. She can make money off of her passions when she gets older as she
Yeah,
develops.
that's my little
Uh,
Virgo.
uh-huh. Yeah, and yeah, and then she has that Venus Eight of Spades. Oh, because you guys have a similar card in common, Eight of Spades. That means whatever she does in life, she's gonna work for it. She's gonna put in the work. She can't if she tries to take the shortcuts, it ain't gonna work out too well for her. But as long as she rounds her corners and does the work, she's gonna be good. But she knows how to express it. She's another very expressive one. Um, but at the same time, she can be judgy, can't she?
Yes.
Very judgy. She got the Queen of Hearts and Saturn. That means she be knowing it all sometimes, and
Oh
y'all be
my
having to
goodness.
debate real
She's
quick.
a chatterbox about everything that she
Uh
does
huh.
know.
Uh huh. Uh huh. But it's good though because that's a very intelligent card to have in that position. She just has to learn how to balance the judginess with don't allow the judginess to make her to stop her from acting because all of her blessings are going to be in action if
That's
that
what's
helps.
up. That's what's up. Definitely, you were describing Samaya so well. And that is the daughter that I do know. So I think that that is a skill that people should do something with. If you want to be able to move around in the system of white supremacy, you should know the people that you're rocking with or
And
that you're staying away from. So
I teach it. My class is closed now because I'm already like 9 classes in, but I'm going to start another semester up next year. I teach this, to people. I got 9 students right now in my current class. I didn't want to take any more. Um, but you can learn this because what I do for those who don't know is card out is the same deck of playing cards you play poker and blackjack with. Those same cards are assigned a spiritual system that they just didn't tell you niggas they were spiritual systems. We think it's just spades. We People will be thinking, why do you think the house always wins when it comes to cards? Why do you think they would built the massive casinos with card games? Because there's a full-on science that guarantees outcomes when you understand the science behind it. 4 suites, 4 seasons of the year, 4 elements of the universe: earth, air, water, fire. Hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades. 52 cards, 52 weeks of the year, 4 suites, 4 seasons of the year, 13 cards in each suite, 13 weeks in each season. And so when you do that, you develop it's a calendar that mimics 364 days a year, with the Joker being the 365th day of the year, December 31st. And with that, you could decode personalities, decode outcomes. And for those of you who watch my YouTube show, I decoded a lot of shit that's going on right now. Last year, I said, okay, this is the year of exposure. I said it's last December. This year, if people who we love, people who we hate, it's gonna be exposure season. Those of you who follow my YouTube know I called this in December. Niggas is getting called out to the carpet. What do we see every day? It seems like every day we look up, somebody else getting sued. DJ Envy's now on the front. You know what I mean? A lot of people are, and so this stuff is it's a science. And so for those of you interested in it, that's what I do. But and if you spooked out by it, that's cool too. But again, like Eve said, it's all about learning something. And for me, my years working with families, I sent myself Eve into depression. All them years working with kids, I used to have to tell jokes after going. I had kids that what didn't eat for 3 or 4 days, and I had to stop and get them a $5 pizza on the way to go tell jokes in front of 300 people. Fucked my heart up. Live that dichotomy, On one hand, counseling people and being there for them and counseling, then going and as soon as I'm done with that, making people laugh. It ripped my heart into shreds. So when I learned when I left mental health, it's because my mind literally couldn't take it anymore. I damn near had a nervous breakdown and I had to leave. But I never lost my compassion and my passion for helping people. So when I learned the cards, which I had been kind of learning when I was doing mental health, but when I started taking it all the way serious until I left mental health, that gave me a way to deal with what I love to deal with, working with people, but in a way my heart wasn't on the line. So that's what it did for me. And so welcome to everybody that don't know what it is. That's what I've been doing. But yeah, if you think it's some spooky shit, then whatever. But for somebody who's been spending my whole life helping people out, it gave me a way to help people out without putting my heart on the line the way it used to be.
I think that belief systems are all some spooky shit. It just depends on how far you're willing to go. At the same barbershop shop, at the same time, I had another conversation where it was like other religions, the people in those religions, they go hard for that religion. For example, somebody will strap a bomb to their body and say some Allahu Akbar or whatever. I'm saying that so wrong. Please don't come for me. Yo, like they'll say some shit like that, right? And then blow themselves and everybody else up. And I haven't heard anybody strap a bomb to themselves ready to go meet Jesus. Dewan, what is going on?
Look, man, church. That's one group of people. that can sit back and judge everybody else and say what they doing wrong, but I ain't seen none of these motherfuckers put their life on the line for what's right since Dr. King. And even he wasn't fucking with the SCLC at the time of his death like that. You know, when you read, we go further into it. And so, yeah, that's why, it's all about getting past what people think and how people feel, and then because at the end of the day, a lot of this dogma that is religion and stuff like that, it's just a whole bunch of lost people following what they think is right. And I don't nobody know a goddamn thing. Most of the people that like that, the reason why they ain't gonna strap a bomb to themselves and blow themselves up in the cause of their religion, Eve, is because they ain't even read the goddamn book. These motherfuckers, they're reading the whole Bible. They ain't even read all the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Other than the parts that say "give me," other than the parts that say I'm better than you. You know what I mean? And so that's what it is. That's what we're dealing with. And so just, yeah, just open your mind. These sciences are sciences that we created, and we hit them in games like poker and spades. It's the reason why black folks love spades so much. Yeah, because them cards are something that your ancestors coded a whole book of knowledge in, and there's a certain ancestral spiritual memory within it that attracts us to these cards. When we're around our family members, these card games bring us together. Dice too. Dice is another one. I can read dice. You can read dice. Let me roll them dice and see what number come up. I got a message for you. Dice. Do you think do niggas really think dice is just a fucking game? No, dice is a whole definition system. When you roll, and if you understand how to ask questions properly, you get answers on. That's what when they say it's a roll of the dice. A roll of dice, a roll of the dice is literally a for certain outcome if you understand how to decode what them dice are saying. But again, let's tie that back into the subject: instant gratification. Religion gives you instant gratification. Jesus is gonna solve all your problems for you. Just pay me these 10% of your money, and let's go ahead and let me read this book to you. This book is the end all be all of no knowledge. You don't need to know anything else. It gives people a certain sense of instant gratification, the feeling that all their problems could be solved in a book by somebody else with blue eyes and a shag. Um, you know what I mean? That's what the religion thing does to people. That's what it does for people. Versus when you understand these spiritual systems, when you truly understand these divination systems like card reading and metaphysics and that kind of stuff, that puts it back on you. When you understand these cards, the cards ain't saying, okay, these things are for certain outcome. This was gonna happen. No, 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 no. These cards give you a range of possibilities, and depending on how you play the cards determines on your outcome. If you play your cards right, we've been saying that shit our whole goddamn life. You play your cards right, it's go not knowing that's really what the fuck it is. But when you get into this kind of shit, it ain't no instant gratification. It's saying, okay, these are the potentialities. When I read your card, this is the good side of what can happen. This is the low side of what can happen. How and it's to varying degrees depending on how much effort and energy you put into it or don't put into it. These are just the possibilities. Now it's on you to do something. It ain't gonna be no blue haired white nigga with a shag coming to save your ass. You got to save yourself, and that's not instant gratification. Although it can be, because once you start having faith in yourself, once you start loving yourself, and knowing how fucking dope you are, you can start having instant gratification in the knowledge that whatever issues may come your way, you're gonna instantly be able to create a solution if you take the time to sit down and listen and listen and listen to what's being sent your way.
That was beautiful and absolutely the sentiment of what we've been talking about this afternoon. So, shout out to you. Thank you for coming through with your thoughts about instant gratification and adding to my thoughts. I don't know if you had any final thoughts, but to the room, I think that you should definitely try to take advantage of if Dewan does do a space where he's reading cards, because Sometimes you need a starting point, and maybe you thought you knew something, but when someone who doesn't know you says something and you can take and look at yourself objectively, then maybe you can make some adjustments that make sense. The math can start to math. So that's it's just a thought. I'm just Eve, and I have these thoughts from time to time. If you like my thoughts, you can follow me on YouTube. That's in the jumbo. But Isla, did you have any final thoughts?
Well, I'm sorry I missed a lot of the space. I did have a lot of thoughts on the whole instant gratification, concept in terms of the consequences of, and we've all done it, kind of giving into what we want in the moment versus looking at things long term, or having a plan, just doing things based off our emotion and not really looking at things strategically and long term. So, but, maybe we can have another space and talk about it.
Well, I mean, what do you mean with regards to what specifically? Because, like, I know that you are a chef and I know that you are working on your physique. So, those are two things that we talked about tonight.
Mm-hmm,
How
mm-hmm.
you get to things and then what you want it to look like. Is it something else?
Well,
Maybe I missed something.
it really is. I don't know how it is for other people. Well, for me, I'll just say for me, it's all mental. Um, it's funny because when I've made up my mind to do something, all these external things, they almost just disappear, right? When I have my mind like fixated on it. And for the last week, I've been completely just doing fish for protein, increase my protein, no carbs, except from vegetables and fruit, because I have a goal I want to work on, and before December comes. So everybody else around me can be eating things and doing things, and I have zero desire for it, zero, because I already have it made up in my mind that this is all that I'm going to do. Um, and I hope that answered your question or kind of spoke to that particular part of the topic.
No, it definitely did. I think that if we want a certain outcome, then you have to do the work. And that's something that we touched on this afternoon. So thank you for those additional thoughts on that. A thought that I had about the church, at least before we end this afternoon. The church, Black people in the church. Um, Dewan, you listen to Clyde, right? Clyde Winters, Dr. Clyde Winters.
Yes, yes.
All right, so this is my thought about Black people in the church. I feel like the powers that be, the dominant society, or whatever you want to call the white people who wrote things down, and that's why everybody's all stuck on stupid. I think that they changed the language. They changed the language. So when they change the language, we start calling things, we're calling red blue, or we're calling a dog a cat, or we're calling Yahweh Jesus, and it's not the right name. Or at least this is how Dr. Winters was making me feel like maybe talking to the right, we're not putting the energy in the right place. But I think that it still goes back to what you were talking about self, because if you don't see it inside of you, then how can you see it externally? So there are components that need to be there. And when we're trying to feel good or we're trying to feel better about something, I don't know if we're thinking about the work as much as we're thinking about, the end result, what makes us feel good at the end, but at what cost? So instant gratification, if Yahweh was the name and we were a different people back then maybe maybe we do something different, but maybe that's the reason that he's Jesus now. I don't know. I'm not a church person, so when he starts talking like that, I kind of, I don't want to say I tune him out, but I don't want to not say it doesn't sound like Charlie Brown sometimes, but I know that he's on to something because I know how energy works. If
You
you're
know,
not calling somebody the right name, then they're not going to hear you. And okay, that could be spooky, but we've already gone into spooky land when you say that a deck of cards can tell somebody about somebody. So
You know where I go with that, because I spent years in church, and on my YouTube show, I kind of go in and out talking spirituality and regular shit, because as Black folks, we're spiritual people. We just been told the story wrong, and like what I heard Dr. Clark was talking about names. I kind of cut to the chase because when I jump around, and whether I'm doing some research on Hinduism, whatever ism or entity or whatever the fuck religion people do, they all, when you get down to the nitty gritty, break it down to the most common denominator. They're all pointing you back to yourself. There are the different ways of pointing. There are maps, road maps to point you back to who the fuck you really is. Some of them say you get it through Jesus. People say you get it through Buddhism. Fact is, you can get it, like Dr. John Henry Clark said, you can get it through all of them or none of them, depending on what you decide to focus on. So when I break it down the whole Jesus shit, I just say, look, when I hear the name Jesus Christ, that's just the crystallization that you are the one that you are your own savior. Christ means crystallization of knowledge. When you decide in your own mind and you realize in your own mind that you are Jesus, and your job is to save your motherfucking self, and ain't no nigga with a shag gonna come around and blue eyes he ain't the one. That's Caesar Borrego's uncle or some shit. That no, you're Jesus, you're Buddha, you're Muhammad. All these goddamn entities that people want to worship and be is back on you. And that goes back into what we say instant gratification. It's instant gratification when we can all name something outside of us that's going to help us. That feeds into that whole instant gratification thing. Some outside person, some outside thing, whether I call him Buddha, whether I call him Jesus or Yahweh, or the motherfucking Jim Jones or Yahweh Ben Yahweh, that crazy motherfucker down there in Miami. As long as you're looking for your savior to be somebody else, and for art for today's generation, niggas Jesus today is Jay-Z. You really fucked up. Because Hove is a lot of these niggas real Hove. Think about how fucked up you are if you following that nigga. But a lot of people are. Um, Me personally, the only person outside of myself I'm a follow and listen to is goddamn the religion of Michael Jackson. Nigga, live your life off the wall. That's the only motherfucker I fuck with outside of me. But when it comes down to it, we all getting told to just fall in love with ourselves and follow your spirit, follow your own spirit. That's what all these goddamn religions is. And as long as niggas is going around praying for somebody to come and help, ain't none of them niggas hearing you, because you got to help your goddamn self. It's like if your car is broken down on the side in the middle of the street, if you just sit there with the hazards on, cats are gonna sit there and go drive right around you. But if you get out and push it, promise you 2 or 3 other people gonna come along and help. And I think when I get into religion talk and all the spiritual talk, that's where I always take it back to. It's on you. Same thing with my cards. Other people, I don't talk to a lot of other card readers, because they'll be like, "Ooh, that's because of the ace of spades in the person that they're doing that." And oh, that's because of this part. And I'll be like, yeah, those are energies that are leaning people towards these behaviors, but they're still making decisions to do these behaviors or not do these behaviors. It still comes back to you. And if you want to read cards or do a religion, ain't none of that shit good if you're gonna use that shit to sit back and let other people, and it be on other people and these other entities that has control. But if you take any of those religions, whether it be Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, um, card reading, fasting, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, if you use that thing as a tool of self-empowerment and as a motivating factor to get off your own black ass and do it, then it's gonna work for you. I think that's just long and short of it to me when it comes to religion, metaphysics, spirituality, or any of this shit. Are you going to use that book of knowledge to empower yourself, even in your music? Are you gonna listen to your spirit when it comes to the music, or are you gonna listen to what these other niggas said is corny or white? Because the greatest of all time, listen to their spirit. There's something in James Brown's spirit that made him put the accent on the one. Wasn't nobody else telling him to do it, because you didn't hear nobody else doing it before. You know what I mean? It was something in Rakim's spirit that told him to rap rhythmically and percussive the way he does. Because other people wasn't doing it and tell stories the way he do. It's always the people who listen to their spirit are the ones that and listen to themselves and do them and not what the fuck somebody else is doing, following somebody else. It's always the ones that do it their own way are the ones that we ultimately remember.
That's real talk. So, how do you want to be remembered? What is your legacy? And is instant gratification what you're out here for? Or do you want something more real, more authentic? So, yeah, I wasn't really trying to be here all afternoon, but I do appreciate y'all joining us for the conversation. I think that at the end of the day, people should strive to be remembered the right way. But if you did something that got you out there in the wrong way, well, I think you can use that too. Like, don't don't be afraid of you. Just know that you should be able to use you. And then from there, do what you need to do. However, at what cost? Remember that all things have a price. And what are you going to do to get the results that you want to get? I guess if you want a certain look, you can pay to have that look, or you can go to the gym and eat the right way, get your mind right. But even like you said earlier, some of those people who did the work, they're in the gym and they are eating the right way. Their mind is still jacked up. They're not really where they want to be. So there's work that needs to be done all around. So, we have to be honest with ourselves about, again, what is the outcome that we're looking for. Go ahead, Isla. What's
Yeah,
up?
that balance. And I can attest to that because um, if I'm not emotionally in the right place, it's harder to do all those things. Or if I'm doing all those things, I feel off, if I'm not right mentally. So there has to be a balance there. Um, and you got to do whatever it takes to get there, but you got to want to do it. And then you have to then set your mind and be determined to take the necessary steps to get to where it is that you want to, be either physically, mentally, spiritually, around the board. But it's a beautiful thing and it's a peaceful thing when you have that balance and you have people in your life that can, knock you back on track. I don't like having people around me who don't give me the business when I need it.
That's real talk too. The people that you have around you, are they going to enable you to be a person that can just get something because it's there, or are they people who are going to hold you to a standard and then make sure that you're doing the work? I saw a meme or a video, a reel, and it was like two, Candace, where are you tonight? I don't know, but you shared it. It was two black women talking to each other about being on a diet together. Isla, did you see
Yes,
it? It was
I'll
like an
share it in the
animated
jumbo time.
man.
I'll put it in the jumbo time. That was hilarious. She got a
Like,
black
y'all,
woman.
this is y'all for real.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, I know it's not everybody, but if if you're going to say that you're going to do the work, don't lie. Don't say that you're doing work that you're not doing. It really messes the scales
It's the
up.
lying
And
to
really
it's,
the
it's
scale
the
is messed
lying
up.
to ourselves that's the worst. The lying to ourselves is the worst. And I always speak to myself first before I'm speaking to anybody else. But when we lie to ourselves, it's just the worst.
People do lie to themselves. That's why I pull these cards out on somebody. They get all them lies you've been telling yourself. All right, let me ask them. Let me ask these cards real quick. It's gonna tell you the goddamn truth. And a lot of people don't want to deal with that. Is the lying to yourself is where you get screwed up in all this stuff. And you got to, you ain't telling yourself the truth. You really don't have a chance to really, get off on the right on a good foot. And but yeah, that's why when you say you was gonna do a space, I was like, oh, yeah, I do it with you. I know you ain't gonna be doing no space for like no damn 17 hours and shit. And I know later on tonight I'm gonna do an instance and ashtrays for those of you who are up. Follow me on Mixcloud. I'm gonna get the music cracking tonight on Mixcloud. We're gonna be playing. We're gonna be vibing out. But yeah, that's all I want to say with that.
Definitely do that. Sometimes, I see that you're live, but you're on a whole other coast and I want to support, so I try to just hit the share. Sometimes I'm live with you in the chat, and then sometimes I'm asleep because, East Coast, West Coast, there's beef just because of when the sun comes out. Because, goddamn, like, I be in the gym. Like,
That bothered me because I was in Philly last week. Y'all gotta wait till like 7 o'clock to see sports here on the West Coast, and then on a weekday, sports start coming on TV around 4, and on a weekend, it start coming on at 9 in the morning. Like, 'cause I like sports playing in the background while I listen to music. I'm used to waking up at 9 in the morning, turning some sports on. I ain't watching none of that shit. I got the sports on, listening to Michael Jackson. On the East Coast, y'all got infomercials still on at 10 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck? Like y'all schedule is all thrown off. I was pissed off in Philadelphia last week. Y'all time zone is screwed up over there on the East. I don't know what's wrong with y'all.
that is hilarious. But really, it's the sun. We got beef. We got beef. But instant gratification. What do you want to get? And then what are you going to do to get there? I hope that you're a people who will put in the work, because I promise you the outcome is that much better than just acting like you did something you didn't. Because at the end of the day, if you're acting like you did something you didn't, it seems like you don't want people to know you didn't do the work. And if that's the case, why wouldn't you just do the work, right? Like that maths. Black first.